Welcome to this episode of the Sports Detective Podcast Show. My name is James Williams, and today has Anthony Davis already played his last game as a Dallas Maverick? What are we talking about? Well, as you guys know, Kyrie Irving suffered a tragic torn ACL Monday night for the Dallas Mavericks. He's out for the rest of the season and probably out for most of, if not all, of next season. And this kind of leads to the question of what direction are the win now Dallas Mavericks going to be going in. They just acquired superstar Anthony Davis. He played one game with Dallas, then he re-aggravated an abdominal injury, and basically kind of what people are asking, hey, is it time to shut down Anthony Davis for the rest of the season? Well, Shams Charania was on the Pat McAfee show on Tuesday, and he basically hinted that Anthony Davis might be sitting out the rest of the season. But what's more interesting to me about this short clip that I'm going to show you guys here in a second, because it is a very short clip, it's only like 15 seconds long, we'll play it a few times, is how Shams words the possibility of Anthony Davis possibly sitting out the rest of this season. Because to me, the way that he is hinting at this here, he's hinting, to me at least, that this might not just be for this season of why Anthony Davis might be sitting out. So we'll go ahead and listen to what Shams has to say, and just pay attention to the words that he uses.
Anthony Davis has been out since his opener, since the first game he played. I think his representatives, I think they're going to huddle up. I think they're going to have some very hard conversations. It's not out of the realm of possibility that that's the last time that one game was the last time we've seen Anthony Davis this season.
So guys, again, listen to the words that he's saying there. And we have the actual text on the screen too. Him and his representatives are going to huddle up. Him and his representatives. Have we ever in NBA history had a player and his agent, his agency, meet up and say, hey, we are not going to play for the rest of the season? We are not going to play for the rest of the season. We've had NBA teams say, hey, we are going to kind of shut you down. We're going to say this injury's taking a little bit more longer to recover than we thought, bro. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, yeah, it takes like 3 months to heal from a broken wrist. Yeah, Chet, your foot injury is actually supposed to be 3 months. We're going to make it 6 months. Luka, yeah, you have like the flu for the last few games of the season, so we can get the 10th pick and then get Derek Lively. That's usually how this stuff goes. It's usually the team. Why does Anthony Davis care about draft position? If anything, you'd think Anthony Davis would want to play so that he can kind of like, we have like 20 games left in the season. You'd want to play because he wants to prove to people that, hey, no, I'm not street clothes. I want to play. I can play through injuries. So why would he be sitting out the rest of the season? Unless he wants to make sure that he's healthy and that maybe some team, some contender could trade for him. Again, let's listen to this again. And again, pay attention to the words Shams is saying.
Davis has been out since his opener, since the first game he played. I think his representatives, I think they're going to huddle up. I think they're going to have some very hard conversations. It's not out of the realm of possibility that that's the last time that one game was the last time we've seen Anthony Davis this season.
Again, the second sentence, they're going to have some very hard conversations. Why would he be having a hard conversation about whether or not to play or not play for the rest of the season? Why would that be a hard conversation? Unless the hard conversation is, hey, what's your future here? Are you going to stay in Dallas? Or do you want to basically say, hey, I'm done playing in Dallas. You guys aren't competing for an NBA championship now that Kyrie Irving's injured. You guys are going to send me to a contender. You guys are going to send me somewhere because I don't want to be here. I didn't want to be here in the first place. I didn't want to get traded here. Send me to a contender. Send me to New York. Send me to Chicago. Send me somewhere else. Again, we'll play it one more time.
Anthony Davis has been out since his opener, since the first game he played. I think his representatives, I think they're going to huddle up. I think they're going to have some very hard conversations. It's not out of the realm of possibility that that's the last time that one game was the last time we've seen Anthony Davis this season.
Guys, I think Anthony Davis has played his last game as a Dallas Maverick. I think this summer he's going to ask out and ask for a trade. It makes sense, right? If you look at Anthony Davis right now, he's 32 years old. Now that Kyrie Irving's injured, he's probably going to be out for the entire 2025-26 season. So next season is a wash. So you're telling me that you're going to ask Anthony Davis, who's in the prime of his career right now, or at least the tail end of his prime right now, that like, hey, you're going to have like a year and a half of basketball that's really not going to matter. And then in 2026, 27, then we're going to come back with 33-year-old Anthony Davis and 34-year-old Kyrie Irving, who hasn't played in a year and a half, and we're ready to compete for an NBA championship. Why would Anthony Davis stay in this situation? His game is predicated on athleticism. I don't think that's something that's going to age well into his late 30s. Anthony Davis has to make the most of the few years that he can be a top 10 player and compete for an NBA championship. So it makes all the sense of the world that he will ask out of Dallas this summer. Believe me or not, I don't know. Maybe Anthony Davis is cool chilling with that one ring that he got. He's already got the accolades. He's already top NBA 75 all time. But why wouldn't he ask out? I don't understand why he wouldn't. Maybe he just doesn't want to be a bother. I don't know. But that does kind of beg the question of like, if he were to ask out, where would he go? Because kind of when you look around the rest of the NBA, and this was kind of like a thing with like Jimmy Butler, who just got moved. It was like, okay, well, Jimmy, you want out of here. Well, where do you want to go, or where can you go even? And if you just kind of look around like the rest of the NBA right now, I was kind of looking at a bunch of teams. What kind of makes the most sense, but I don't think they would have the assets, would be something if it was a Anthony Davis for Karl Anthony Towns swap. Probably the Knicks would have to give up something in that, but I don't know how much draft compensation they have after that Bridges trade. Because if you look at the Davis Towns contracts, they're basically identical. And then you would sell Dallas like, hey, Towns is a few years younger, and he actually maybe wants to be here, be like, the centerpiece of the franchise. It makes sense for the Knicks because right now, what's the problem with the Knicks? They can't play defense. They don't have a rim protector. Well, Anthony Davis solves all of those problems, and he also can give you a tremendous amount of offense and rebounding. So that makes sense there. You could say AD, I know he's talked about in the past wanting to play in Chicago, even though Chicago's a mess of a franchise. He could make, so that way he could sell it like, well, I want to play where I want to be home. I want to play at home. I want to do a homecoming. He could do that type of thing. Other than that, unless the Clippers can get weird and potentially you have because I think Harden could opt out of his contract this summer. He's technically a free agent, I think, again. So you could probably make a trade before Harden signs for Davis, and then you could have and then re-sign Harden. Then you have a Harden, Davis, Kawhi trio in Los Angeles with the Clippers, as crazy as that sounds. So you could have that. Other than that, it's just like, I guess you could throw Houston in there too. I don't know if they would want to do that. I could be wrong. Other than that, it's just a bunch of small markets. It's like Orlando, Indiana, Memphis, maybe. So just kind of looking around the rest of the league, there's some options. But if I'm Anthony Davis, like, again, I feel like sometimes when I see people talk about the Dallas Mavericks after this Anthony Davis trade, like, oh, they could be the best of the West. I always thought that this team, even at their best with this combo, is still going to be a play-in team, because we've seen what it's like to have Kyrie Irving as the main creator on a title team without other creators, and those teams necessarily don't go anywhere. We've seen what it's like to have Anthony Davis as the best player without LeBron. Those teams don't really go anywhere. So I was pretty pessimistic on if they could actually be a contender. But again, Anthony Davis, do you want to waste a year of your prime in Dallas? Just age 32 season. Cool, you might put up a bunch of stats. You might make first team All-NBA, maybe second team All-NBA, make a bunch of money, no state income tax. Or do you want to go somewhere where you can compete for a championship again? Because that's pretty fun. Guys, we might have seen that one game. That one game might have been the last game Anthony Davis has played as a Dallas Maverick, and that would be absolutely insane. We're getting to the point with this trade. It's been a crazy, terrible trade since the minute it happened. One of the worst in NBA history. And if you trade Anthony Davis here and him only playing one game, we're talking about with trades without draft picks, and maybe this trade already is this, but a trade without draft picks involved, probably one of the worst trades in NBA history, if not the worst trade in NBA history. The other one that there's a few you could probably say would be like the SGA for Paul George one, because SGA is obviously probably going to win MVP this year. But also in that trade too, the the Thunder also got Jalen Williams, who was an all-star this year. So I think that's kind of like makes that a little bit worse. And then also with that one too, it's like no one thought SGA was going to be this. Other than that, all the other worst trades in NBA history just were bad because of draft picks. The trade that got the Lakers Magic Johnson, the trade that got the Celtics Jason Tatum and Jason Brown. Those are basically the other worst trades in NBA history. But even if you look at like, you know, when the Bucks traded Kareem, like the Bucks got some good players out of that trade, and they were actually able to have some decent teams in the 70s. When the Lakers traded Shaq, I think they got Lamar Odom out of that deal, and then they also started winning titles like 5 years later with Kobe. And you still had Kobe to fall back on, even though you didn't have Shaq. We're at the point, guys. This is like Babe Ruth from the Red Sox to the Yankees. We're getting there. We are snowballing down that hill very fast. I'm telling you, it's going to go down as one of the worst trades in NBA history, one of the worst trades in sports history now, especially if Anthony Davis and his career in Dallas Mavericks is might be over now. It very well could be over now. All right. That's going to do it for this video here today. If you liked what you watched here today, please subscribe. It's the number one thing that you can do to help support this show. It helps pump us out in the algorithm, and we're trying to get to 1,000 so we can start making some money doing this thing. Because we've been working really hard at this. We get a lot of views, we get a lot of likes, and we just need to get those subs up. So again, like the video too. That's how I know that I should keep doing videos like this. Leave a comment on what you think. Do you agree with me that Anthony Davis might have played his last game as a Dallas Maverick? Do you think he'll give it a try next season? Do you think he wants to go somewhere else? Where do you think he wants to go? We'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on all this. And again, thank you for watching. I'll talk to you next time.